The cries echoed through the old wooden barn long before the rancher reached its doorway. A sharp, breathless sound that made his heart punch against his ribs as he rushed inside. The late afternoon sun spilled in behind him, stretching long shadows across the packed dirt floor. And for a split second, he thought he was too late. There she was, the young Apache woman he had seen wandering. The fields earlier that day collapsed on the straw, her white dress torn in places, her hair fanned wildly around her head as she fought to breathe through the pain. "I can't close my legs," she gasped, her voice trembling, her eyes wide with fear. The rancher dropped to his knees, boots scraping the floor, trying to figure out what could possibly be wrong. At first, he assumed she had simply twisted her leg or fallen badly, but as his calloused hands moved gently along her thigh, he felt her muscles locked tight, rigid in a way he'd never felt before. It wasn't an injury of the ordinary kind. She seemed frozen from the waist down, as if invisible hands were holding her muscles apart and refusing to let her move. Her breaths came fast, panicked. She dug her fingers into the hay and tried to shift her weight. But her body wouldn't respond. "Something's inside," she whispered, though she sounded more confused than certain, as if she herself didn't know what she meant. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. He had seen plenty of ranch accidents before, snake bites, bone breaks, bucking horse injuries, but never anything like this. He tried coaxing her muscles to relax, massaging the area gently, but every time he pressed, she winced sharply. "Hold on," he said softly, wiping sweat from his brow. "I'm not going to hurt you. Just let me see." She nodded in rapid little jerks, her breathing ragged, trusting him because no one else was there and because he looked like the type of man who didn't turn his back on someone in need. Outside, his horse shifted nervously as if sensing the tension in the air. The rancher worked quickly, checking for fractures, swelling or bleeding, anything that might explain the paralysis. But what he found instead made him freeze. Just beneath her skin, lodged high along the inner part of her thigh, something hard pressed against his palm, round, warm but definitely not bone. His eyebrows pulled together in alarm. It felt unnatural, as if it didn't belong there at all. "There's something inside your leg," he finally said, voice low. "Something foreign." She blinked at him, startled, shaking her head. "No, that's not possible. I didn't." Nothing happened, but her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. Maybe something had happened, something she didn't remember. The rancher swallowed as he realized how frightened she truly was, tremors shaking her arms. She tried once more to close her legs, but the muscles twitched violently and refused to obey her command. Whatever was lodged inside her was preventing her limbs from moving the way they were supposed to. "We need to get this thing out," he muttered, reaching for his knife, not to cut her, but to be prepared if it turned out to be some kind of trap, or metal fragment or hidden weapon. The last thing he expected was to find a small, carved wooden object pushing up beneath the skin, almost as if it were trying to force its way out. He stared in disbelief. How could something like that get inside a person without leaving a wound? Before he could think further, the shadows shifted at the barn's entrance. Someone had been watching. A quiet silhouette stood against the sunlight, tall and still. The rancher's hand went to his holster out of instinct, pulling the woman slightly behind him, though she couldn't move, his eyes narrowing. The figure stepped forward slowly, revealing the paint-marked face of an elderly Apache tribesman, his expression unreadable. The rancher's pulse quickened. This man wasn't just anyone. He was a medicine keeper, a spiritual guardian. His gaze drifted to the young woman trembling behind him, and something like sorrow flickered across his face. "She was chosen," he murmured in a voice rough as gravel. "And now the choice reveals itself." The rancher, confused and tense, tightened his grip on his revolver. "What does that mean?" he demanded. The medicine keeper stepped closer, eyes going to the rancher's, hands still pressed carefully against the woman's thigh, where the strange object lay hidden beneath the flesh. "It means," the old man whispered, "that what is inside her was never meant for her to carry alone." And as he said those words, The rancher realized the worst was yet to come. The barn seemed to close in on the three of them, the air heavy with dust and tension as the rancher tried to make sense of the elder's cryptic words. The young woman lay trembling, her breaths uneven, her muscles refusing to obey her. When the elder knelt beside them, the rancher instinctively shifted protectively, unsure whether this man's presence meant danger or salvation. But the elder simply placed a weathered hand over the rancher's, right where the hard object pressed beneath the woman's skin, and nodded once with solemn gravity. "Feel it again," he said softly. The rancher hesitated, then pressed gently. But this time something shifted beneath the skin. The carved object rotated, moving on its own. The woman gasped sharply, her body arching in fear. The rancher felt his blood run cold. No piece of wood should be able to move like that. No ordinary object should feel alive. "What the hell is it?" he murmured. The elder took a deep breath. "A token of passage," he said. "A message left by those who walk between our world and the one of spirits. She must have encountered something she doesn't remember." The woman stared at him, eyes wide, shaking her head violently. "I didn't go anywhere. I didn't meet anyone. I was gathering herbs by the river. Then everything went blurry." The rancher squeezed her shoulder. "Gently. Easy. You're safe now." But even he wasn't sure of that anymore. The elder motioned for him to lift the woman, slightly so he could inspect the area more closely. When he did, the elder whispered a chant under his breath, something old, something that carried the weight of generations. Slowly, the muscles in her leg began to twitch. Then something miraculous happened. Her legs started to move, not closing completely but responding. The rancher's eyes widened as the carved object pushed nearer the surface, creating a small bulge against her skin. The elder lifted his gaze to the rancher. "You must be the one to take it out," he said. "Your hands were the first to find it. Only yours can release it." The rancher's throat tightened. He had delivered calves, stitched wounds, even pulled bullets from men, but this felt different, almost sacred. Still, he nodded. Carefully, he pressed around the bulge, guiding it toward the surface. The woman clenched her teeth but didn't scream. She trusted him. Slowly, painfully, the object emerged. A small, perfectly round wooden sphere carved with symbols neither of them recognized. The moment it was free, the woman gasped and collapsed fully into the rancher's arms, her muscles finally loosening enough for her legs to close naturally. Relief washed over her like a warm wave. The sphere pulsed faintly, as if something inside it breathed. The rancher held it up to the light, bewildered. "What is this thing?" The elder bowed his head. "A calling stone," he said. "But it should not have chosen her. It should have chosen you." The rancher's spine stiffened. "Me?" The elder nodded slowly. "She was found on your land. She walked where your ancestors once walked. The spirits marked her only because you stood too far from where they meant to find you." The rancher stared at the stone, every hair on his neck rising. The sphere suddenly flickered with a soft internal glow, and for a brief second he saw shapes, mountains, a river, a symbol that looked like a hand touching the sky. "It's showing you your path," the elder said quietly. "If you ignore it, others will suffer as she did." The rancher looked back at the young woman, now resting peacefully, exhaustion softening her features. He felt a determination rising in his chest, something fierce and resolute. "Tell me what I have to do," he said. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. "Tomorrow at dawn you leave this ranch. Follow what the stone shows you, and you must return with what waits for you there, or this land will never know peace." Again, the rancher didn't know where this path would take him. But as he held the mysterious sphere, its faint glow warming his palm, he knew one thing for certain. The unbelievable thing he found wasn't the object, it was the destiny it brought with it. And now he was part of something far bigger than himself.